Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Just going to wait for you guys to tune in. Welcome. Good morning. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, Instagram. Good morning, YouTube. Hope you all are doing well. Good morning, Roy. Hello. I am Data too. Hello. Tusha. Hello. Tynash. Good morning. If this is your first time tuning in, definitely comment. Let me know where you are tuning in from. Nilechi, good morning. Thank you so much. That's really sweet. Natty, good morning. Israel, good morning. How is everyone doing? Chef Pascal, good morning. Any good news about immigrant visas? No updates yet. And I don't expect any updates, until, the review period. And Chantley from New York, good morning. I will actually be going down that way this weekend for my brother's funeral. So it's going to be an intense weekend. Dr. Savage from from Nigeria, good morning. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Aisha Chidole. I'm an immigration lawyer and I represent clients all over the United States. If you'd like to schedule a consultation, you can call me 678-325-1037 or 407-995-6567. You can also send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. Okay, someone's asking, is your office in Roswell, Georgia? Yes, it is in Roswell, Georgia. Israel from Indianapolis, welcome. Thank you guys so much. Someone is asking, are there any updates on May EAD filers? I don't know. I don't know what kind of case you have. Every case is different. It also depends on what your country of origin is, what kind of case you filed, what class or category of EAD you're requesting. So that's a hard question to answer without giving more context. So, you need you need to explain a little bit more. But today I want to really just talk about a lot of the trends that we're seeing with I-751s, because this seems to be really actually shocking or surprising to me, how quickly marriages fall apart these days, I guess. And just, for people to really understand the stakes when you have a 2-year conditional green card, one thing that you guys have to understand first and foremost with the 2-year conditional green card, to me, in all the applications and review, to me, that is the most difficult to get approved, and I don't say this lightly. When you file a marriage-based green card, this is your first application, there are certain things that make sense why you wouldn't have it, because you don't have papers, you don't have a social security number, you don't have a work permit, you guys might not have X, Y, and Z. But it's shocking to me the amount of people that, consult and they've been married now for 2 years or 3 years sometimes, because, if you count when they, initially filed, that still don't have any of these things, and somehow, in this adversarial administration, believe that would be enough to get them approved for their conditional green card. Or they say, I was bypassed, meaning they waived my interview. So, it's, I should be fine. I need to let you guys understand that you are dealing with, and this is for any administration for that matter, just so you understand that I-751s, and you can go back and watch my videos from 2 years ago or 3 years ago in even President Biden's administration. It is one of the most difficult humps to cross, because at that time, they're not accepting excuses. They're not accepting excuses as to why you don't have evidence that you have a good faith marriage. They're not accepting evidence as to why there's no form of financial entanglement, no form of proof of, cohabitation or logical explanation of why one person is living here and one person is living there. And the thing is, with I-751s, similar to asylum cases, well, quite frankly, all cases right now, there is no leeway for, I don't have a criminal record. If they deny me, they won't send me to deportation. Literally, as soon as you're denied, you are going into deportation proceedings. Like there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And that's why, those of you that have 2-year green cards, it's wonderful, but you want to make sure that you continue living in marital union, you continue to gather evidence to show that your marriage is genuine and it has continued being genuine. That is literally why they created conditional green card, because there was a time where it didn't exist, and to make sure that they avoided marriage fraud or people, trying to defraud the system, this was created. So it is really, really important that you are documenting your lives together. Yes, sometimes marriages don't work. And yes, there are waivers for when things like that happen, but understand that even if you're eligible for a waiver, for i.e. divorce or i.e. extreme cruelty in an I-751 capacity, you must still prove good faith marriage. And good faith marriage is not saying, well, yeah, we're really married, we have a marriage certificate. Good faith marriage is evidence that you're building your life together, that you've continued to build your life together. The only time where good faith marriage is not considered is if you are requesting a waiver of extreme hardship, and I use the word extreme because that's exactly what it is. They don't just want you to say hardship, because if I go back home, I'm going to have to find a new job. Like I won't know where to live or whatever it is. To them, that is a normal hardship that anybody that is deported will have. Like yours has to be so extreme that an ordinary person will not have that as if they were deported. So it's very, 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 very difficult to get an extreme hardship approval, especially now, which is why it is important that you get your ducks in a row. It is important that you and your spouse are living together, unless you have a genuine, legitimate reason, not I don't like where he lives, or he wants to live closer to his mom and I want to live here. Like that is not good enough. That is not good enough. You have to be living in marital union, or you have to have a legitimate reason why you're not living together. So again, hopefully you guys are paying attention to that, because I can't tell you like the amounts of consults that I'm listening to, and you don't know if these people don't understand like how high, and you guys know, like I'm not someone that comes here to like create kind of like pandemonium and panic or whatever it is. But, I myself am concerned at the lackadaisical nature of some people with the 2-year green cards and they don't realize how important it is to continue to have these things, or they don't realize that it's not okay to be living here in I don't know, one county, and the other person living in another county in the same state, and somehow they believe that USCIS will not find out, but they do find out. The second thing that I wanted to talk about, so you guys are gonna be like, today I'm just like on my griping session, because it's driving us all insane. So somebody has to talk about it. Is the amount of bad cases that people allow others to file for them, and what do I mean by that? Like people that will say, oh yeah, I just filed this asylum case to get a work permit, and now you're really eligible for something, and you just think that that's going to go away when you have filed a frivolous asylum claim. it just doesn't go away, or people that say, you know what, I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to put this and this together or whatever it is. What's the harm? And they submit it, and then they come to you, and they, first of all, they're not honest to tell you that maybe they filed something else or that they lied about something else, because they don't want you to reject or deny representation of the case. And then what happens is you're here like trying to go to bat for that person, like fighting, like for that person, like making all these legal arguments. And then you says like, okay, did you know about this from 2020 or 2019 when they lied about this or said this or had this or did this? Guys, it is important to be honest, first of all, to your lawyer. You need to tell them what is going on. That is literally the whole point of a consultation. When you're honest, then we can tell you what you're eligible for or what the risks are or what the risks are not. And also, if you are eligible for a waiver, if there is something in your record that makes you need one. So please, guys, you have to take this thing seriously and be honest. All right, let me answer some questions. Tordy Okori says, how are you doing? Please, I filed for VAWA since March 2022. I have received a lot of prima facies. Do you think my case is going in the right direction? Your case is going in the normal direction. They're reviewing cases from 2022, and you will continue to get prima facies because once you have a prima facie determination, they will continue to renew that every 6 months after the first one is given for a year until they make a decision on your case. They are still processing 2022 cases, and I mentioned this as well yesterday. So your cases are going in the right direction. That said, you do have a Nigerian name, so I am going to assume that you are Nigerian, and if you are Nigerian, you are one of the countries that's being placed on administrative hold. What that means is that they are holding making a final decision, approvals, on cases with people from any of those 39 countries from the full and partial ban until they decide the level of scrutiny or how they want to do it. So if you are from those countries, you really want to make sure that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's, because right now that your scope of review is going to look very different from someone else. I find it funny though, because quite frankly, I've been doing this enough to notice a trend already. Like certain of those countries, they already had to cross hoops. They already didn't believe them, and you basically are not believed, and you have to fight to be believed, from the get-go. But now it's going to obviously be more amplified. So it's really, really important to really, really have a solid application. It's really, really important that when your lawyer asks you to give them this evidence, that you dig in and you get it. I can't tell you how many times people will hire us to respond to a NOID, which is a notice of intent to deny, or an RFE, or to file an appeal, and we'll say, okay, can you give me this? And then they won't be able to give it to you until you literally have to threaten them and say, listen, you've paid money for us to represent you. The only way we can represent you is for you to give us this information. If not, you'll be deported. And then all of a sudden, they're able to find the evidence. So it takes a little bit of time to get the effort, but that will go a long way. It's not just, we're not in a time where, they send you an NTA, you go to trial and they send you back home. You could be detained. And right now, you guys are seeing everything going on in Minnesota. Like being detained is like being in jail. Like that is literally how people are being treated. I can't tell you how difficult it is to even get into contact with your attorney or clients when you are detained. First of all, finding you on the ICE locator takes days. And sometimes you will call them and this detention center will say, well, we have them on record here, but the person's like, no, they've moved them over here. So don't put yourself in a situation that can be avoided. And how do you avoid that? You need to prepare your evidence. You need to gather your documents. If you're filing a marriage-based case, you need to understand what are the requirements, gather the requirements. If you're using an attorney I can't imagine not using an attorney in this administration, but of course, do you. But if you are using an attorney, you're doing it yourself, gather the evidence that they're asking you to gather. Same thing, if they request additional evidence, provide that evidence, not like one page. If they're asking for a lease, give them the whole lease, not just one page. They want to see the signature. They want to see when it was signed. Make sure the lease has the landlord or the property management, whoever signs it. I'm just using that as an example. Okay. Let's see what questions they have. For someone who is filing for joint removal of conditions, how long are you seeing the process from filing to interview take? Removal of conditions take about 2 years. That's just standard. It doesn't matter what region you are, that's standard. One of the ways people accelerate that is that they file for citizenship once they become eligible. And what ends up happening is right now, citizenship interviews are taking about 4 to 8 months on average from when you file. So that will kind of like force a decision on both, because they can't approve citizenship unless they approve the I-751, which is to remove the conditions on your green card. So you want to do that at the same time. Okay. I was married to a U.S. citizen, but we're divorced now. Am I still eligible to do so? I don't know what that is a continuation of. Are you saying that you had a 2-year conditional green card? If that's, I probably missed your original question. If you did have a 2-year conditional green card and you're now divorced, yes, you can file for removal of condition, or yes, you can amend a removal of condition application that was already filed to now let them know you're divorced, and now you want to request a waiver of joint filing because you're now divorced. Remember, divorce is not a crime. Divorce does not make you ineligible. What makes you ineligible is not being able to prove that you had a good faith marriage. So you want to prove you had a good faith marriage. A category of candidates that I'm seeing a lot of now are people who haven't quite experienced abuse in their 2-year conditional green card, but they and their spouse are having difficulties, but somehow they don't want to get divorced. In those cases, if your spouse is not filing with you and you don't have abuse, you will not get approved without a divorce. So that's something to consider if you fall in that category. Can I apply for an AOS with an expired I-94 that I obtained through my military PIP? Have you left the country? What is this I-130 for? Is this your sons that filed you this I-130? Okay. Let's see. Okay, I sent an EAD renewal on February 2025 through pending VAWA. My EAD category was CO9, but my lawyer changed to C31. I received receipt notice, category C31. Is it better to resubmit a new form? Honestly, because of the time that it's going to waste to submit a new form should be CO9. It's just going to take you a longer time. So if it was me, I would just resubmit a correct CO9 form, because the C31 is not getting approved unless your VAWA case is approved. C31 only comes after a VAWA is approved. All right, guys, I actually got to jump off. Today was very short. Sorry. Okay, I'll answer this question. What is the meaning of an I-797? An I-797 just means the name of the paper. It's literally the paper that USCIS notifications are sent, like your receipt notice, your approval notice. They're usually on an I-797 or like your biometrics. That's what it means. I hope you guys have a good day. I will be back on live on Monday next week at 10 a.m. Eastern. Talk to y'all later. Bye.